Canada is one of the wealthiest countries on earth, but in March 2024, over 2 million people lined up at the food banks in a single month. Meanwhile, the average home prices is still around $700,000. Rent for a one-bedroom in Toronto is $2,500, and families are spending more than half their paychecks just to keep a roof over their heads. By the end of this video, you'll understand why Canada feels like a third world country to millions of working Canadians, and how that reality shaped the hardest decision my family has ever made. And stick around, because near the end, I'll share the exact moment we realized we couldn't build the future we wanted in Canada anymore, and why that pushed us to leave. So if you guys don't know, I'm a Canadian mom of two now living in Vietnam, and this is my husband, Tuck, and he is Vietnamese. He was born in Vietnam, and then he moved to Canada while he was young, and that's how we met. So on this channel, we help families redefine what's possible here. So we redefine home, create income, educate beyond the system. Today, we're diving into something raw: the cost of living crisis in Canada, why it's pushing families into poverty, why younger generations feel hopeless, and why so many are asking if this is even sustainable. Let's break it down. So number one, let's talk about housing, the biggest crisis. The average home prices in Canada in 2024 was about $700,000. In cities like Toronto or Vancouver, detached homes go for $1.2 to $1.4 million. And rent is about $2,500 a month for a one-bedroom in Toronto, before utilities, groceries, and transportation. And families are spending about 50 to 70% of their income on housing. Internationally, that defines as housing poverty. So let's talk about this.
Yes, I came to Canada, I guess, in the year 2000, and an average home back in 2000 in Canada costs around, let's just say, 100 to 150,000, depend on which city you were in. And in 2025 now, we're looking at 700,000 on average. So that's like 3 to 4 times the price, and our income has maybe doubled. Our income in Canada has not really kept up with housing costs. Our income back in 2000 was around 35,000 on average, and today is around 62,000. So yes, our income has gone up, but to keep up with housing, it's far below that. Our housing actually costs more than 11 times our income. So the OECD considers 3 to 5 times income as affordable for housing, but we are at over 11 times. So Canadian housing is far from affordable.
Okay, so we're gonna move on. The second point that we have is food insecurities. So from middle class to food banks, in March 2024, there was 2 million or more visits were made to the food bank in 1 month, a new record. Nearly 700,000 of those visits were kids, and many came from working families like nurses and teachers. Prices are crushing. A dozen of eggs are about $5 to $7. I think it could be even more now. Looking it up, it's about $5 to $7, and I believe it might be more, because I think I heard my brother saying they're about like $10 now. Cheese is about $12. Ground beef is about $8 a pound. So it's creating impossible trade-offs. And also, 1 in 4 Canadian kids live in a food insecure home. That's hundreds of thousands growing up hungry in a G7 country. So what are your thoughts on that, Tuck?
I've checked the stats, and I guess our income is keeping up with the grocery bills and the other expenses like utilities and all that. But because we have more than just those bills, really our income is nowhere keeping up with everything. So having the housing situation, we're paying so much to just have a roof over our head. Now we don't really have a lot leftovers for food. And this is what's happening in Canada today. And that's why these numbers are continue to increase.
On the topic of food insecurity, I feel like when we were back in Canada, we would try to find something that's more affordable to make versus trying to find more quality food. We're always looking at the price to find the cheaper meats or the cheaper, easy foods to make for our kids. And I think that's why more Canadians and even Americans are buying like mac and cheese, for instance, like Katie. Like, it's so affordable and the kids will get full, so that's why people buy it. Canned soups.
Yeah, it's just canned food in general.
And when they're looking at meat, you don't even know the quality of the meat anymore. You're just buying whatever is more affordable.
So things that are on sale, or we're talking about processed meat. Everything is processed these days, and that's the only affordable alternatives for most families. We're going to be very unhealthy as the next generation grows up, and that's going to be a lot more hospital trips for our people.
So saying that eating bad foods is going to affect our kids and the new generation in long term. I remember my parents did this a lot. They would go to 5 different grocery stores just because there's certain things on sale. However, if you do the math, like use your gas to go to different grocery stores just to find that cheaper product. Yeah, it's just, I don't know. And I think that causes that trend of people why they stock up. It takes up room, and that's where you need more room in your house. And it becomes a lifestyle that you think that it's okay that you should just have stocks of things because it's on sale, like toilet paper and all that. And that makes sense because you're saving money. But people are doing that more now because they're trying to save money, but also that's not really good for the economy because that means they run out of things more and then other people can't have access to some of those things. It just causes this effect. I want to talk about there's a housing crisis. I see more families, more younger generations living with their mom and dad now. I notice a lot of them can afford it. And yes, a lot of the younger generation is getting help from their parents now, right? To put money down for a home. But even with that, our generation is not able to do that for our kids now.
Having said something like that, so if you're looking at how many families out there are able to help their kids with a down payment, especially in Canada, you can do as little down as 5%, but most of the housing today, with the cost being so high, people,
Yes.
young adults are not able to buy, not just because they don't have the down payment, but also because they actually can't afford to buy the house. It takes a lot more income, right, to be able to get a mortgage, right? So all of these things are causing people to live with their parents longer, or most likely, most people are not going to be able to afford buying a house or owning a house.
And
in
they're
the
not
future.
able to save to put a down payment down. And I think that's one of the
Yes.
housing crisis right now because the houses are so expensive. So you need a bigger down payment now.
Yeah.
And also, like you said, you need to show that you make a certain amount, and not a lot of people are making a certain amount. Even though they did have a little down from the help from the parents, you still have to qualify for the mortgage. And that's where Tuxies, a lot of people have to co-sign. Yeah, it's just a lot of factors with that right now. And rent, even though it is high, I think more younger adults are going that way because they don't have to put a down payment on a house. So they spend more money on the rent, which benefits the people that are already homeowners. For new families, it's harder for them to even start their life and kind of get it going because of that.
Yeah. And with this being said, you see this in a lot of third world country where they have hyperinflation, where most of the people are working and their income is not keeping up with their inflation. So they definitely never be able to buy a house. For instance, like Vietnam, the country that we live in right now, or any other third world country, most of the land or house prices are quite expensive compared to the average income that they are making. And so why we have this topic today is because Canada is actually going into that route. So can we really call Canada one of the wealthiest country anymore?
And like, I think people are not realizing poverty. Like there's a lot of that now.
There's a lot
People
of poverty
can't,
now.
yeah, and like
Sure.
obviously it shows that because we're still living day to day, but like everyone is in debt.
Living paycheck to paycheck.
People
Not-
are looking at Vietnam that like they're so poor, but I feel that it's same in Canada now. People are so poor there now. And even though you're living in like a decent modern home, they're just still so poor. They're living really poor.
It's not the living poor, it's just they're cash poor. You don't have any saving. And if you're looking at that average, that's really not a good sign for Canada going forward.
I guess what I was just trying to say, babe, is that there's no middle class no more. It's going to be just poor and the rich.
So
in Canada.
So that's what third world countries are, right?
Yes,
There's just the wealthy and then there's the poor.
And Canada's going that way. So we're like getting off track. We'll get to the next point. Wages versus inflation. So we're falling behind. The median after-tax household income is around $74,000, but with rent and eating, it's $30,000 annually. So adding food, daycare, insurance, many households scramble to make ends meet. And saying that, even well-educated, dual-income families often find themselves falling behind, fueling the generation that will never own a home narrative. So we already talked about this in the first 2 points with housing crisis. So this is just all coming together, like the housing costs and food. So what are our thoughts on this?
Obviously, wages not kept up if we talking about all the expenses that we
What is
have.
the minimum wage?
Minimum wage is about $17 right now. So yeah, because housing take most of our income. So then, what's left is what we can figure out, right? So most people decide they can't save because the car, the utilities, the food, and this is not even considering, going out to eat or like taking a vacation. For most people, taking a vacation means credit card debt. And then now they have to tend to their debt.
What's the average inflation? Like you should know what's
The average inflation since 2000 is only 2 point something.
And then what's the average of wages going up?
So actually a little bit more. It's a little bit higher. I think it's 2.5 or something like that. But that's only keeping up with everything else except for housing. So this is where housing is actually making us. So that just means that definitely not being able to afford a house. If this keeps up, we've seen comments like people are saying Canada has so much land.
Yes.
Why is housing so expensive? This has to be with our government and how they run things, right? Most of us, we have no control in that. We do what we do best. The system is the system, right? We just follow what we know. And this is where things are heading now.
So because we're talking about wages, should we talk about inflation? Even if the wages are not keeping up and all that, and we're not making enough, there's also a challenge that there's not enough jobs and careers, and I think there's not enough money basically going towards people. Like, what's the percentage of wealthy people?
So household income in Canada, only 19.1% of Canadian household reported that they make over 100,000 in 19%.
So that's 19% of the whole country.
That's
dual income, and that's a
low number, right?
Yeah.
And so that brings us to our average income is quite low at around 60 to 70,000, and as dual income after taxes. From all these stats, we know where we're heading in Canada. We're going into that rough patch, and we decided to leave not just because of all these things, but when there's more poverty, it leads to more crimes. That and is a big number in Canada today.
Yeah,
you've seen a lot more crimes than you ever seen before.
Yeah.
The fact that there's people breaking into jewelry store
in our small little town in Ontario,
and nothing is happening about it that's crazy. And we're supposed to be one of the wealthiest country in the world. Why do we have people breaking into jewelry stores?
Yeah.
And this happened multiple times, not just once.
Yes. In our small little town, we only have 2 big malls, and it has happened already like multiple times. And that's just crazy. Yeah. That jewelry store has been probably broken into 2 or 3 times a year.
And this is leading us into our next topic, which is homelessness. So growing up, obviously we've seen some kind of homeless people in our city. However, the number has increased by amount.
So I'll give you some of the facts I have here. So homelessness is rising quickly in Ontario alone. Over 81,000 people experienced homelessness in 2024, a 25% jump since 2022, with more than half chronically unhoused. In Toronto, more than 1,200 people sought a shelter bed each night in fall 2023, almost double the 2021 figure. Across Canada, 94% of communities report having current or historical homeless or tent cities. These are makeshift camps in parks, under overpasses, living proof of how deeply the affordable housing crisis has scarred our urban landscape.
This topic is a little bit sensitive.
It's hard to talk about.
Some people are homeless because of sickness and mental illness, but overall, we have tents popping up everywhere in our downtown, one of our big park, and there's people doing D around. There's needles everywhere. People like us who have young kids and family are keen to stay away from those areas. Our downtown is supposed to be good for us to bring our kids to take a walk, doing these things.
They have built it that it's so nice.
Yeah, it's looking a lot nicer than before.
However, when we were there last year, it was really uncomfortable because I've seen a lot of people that are using substance in front of you. My brother even posted something up that someone was doing something right in the daylight in downtown, just in front of a store or something. It's just weird to see that, and I see people really messed on the streets walking, and it's scary. I remember back in the day, living in the same city for high school, it was decent enough that kids were able to walk through that. As right now, I do not feel safe if my kid was to be in high school and going to eat lunch downtown, because there's a lot more people
using substance. And as a country, are we allowing this to happen? That kind of put our kids at risk, their safety. We can't even go to certain parks anymore in Canada because of this.
Yeah.
And so what are we doing now? Things like this are happening and we can't do anything about it.
Yeah.
Last year, when we went back to Canada, we went to a peach festival, and a 20-year-old or 2021 or something had a and crimes are increasing at a really fast pace. And to us, safety for our kids is number one, right? We don't want to come home one day and they're not home, or the same vice versa for our kids. And it made us question, like, do we really want to live in Canada anymore?
We didn't know we were going to move to Vietnam and think that we had second thoughts of maybe we might come back.
For sure.
We're going, our family's there. Maybe we just a season of our life that we're going to go travel and live in Vietnam and maybe travel around here. However, we still don't know, but we don't mind having a second home maybe in Canada and live there for a couple months to be with our family and all that. However, I don't think that would be our home base anymore just because of what everything's happening. And I just don't see the future of it. And like staying on topic, like with the homeless, I understand that there's been a movement that everyone's people, and I understand that all. However, when you put your family in danger, I was going through some reels, short videos, and someone said, why aren't we giving more money to like the homeless? Like the people that are wealthy and rich. And someone said, it's not about the money. They don't need funding for money. It's more they're needing help, mental health. And I think maybe that's where we need to put more money into than not giving people just a home. It's more like people need more help. Maybe we need more hospitals or more facilities to help people mentally and getting them off the ground. Yeah.
Basically just getting them help and getting them to get up what they're doing. Right
They're in their situation
and
right
starting
now.
their life again.
Yeah. And not maybe we need to shoo them away. Maybe we need to have a facility for just that. It's just helping them. Because it's not like we're trying to shoo them out of get out of the town.
No, it's not about shooing like the people that need help away, but our government should be able to have a facility where they can stay and get help.
I hope this doesn't offend anyone. These are just our own opinions, just a disclaimer there. But yes, so
I was just saying our country still need a lot of work. We need some good leadership to come in and make a change.
Like even in Vietnam, people are saying, oh, it's so dangerous. People have thoughts that there's homeless people everywhere. Actually, Vietnam has been really good. I don't know what their structure is, but I know they probably have them in a certain place that if people need help, they're in another area. But that makes it more safe for all the locals here and the expats here. If they do something, they will be arrested. We've seen it. Like if someone comes out and starts acting up, they're going to get arrested. And I feel that doesn't happen a lot in Canada. I'm not telling you to arrest them. I'm just saying control it and remove them in the area where there's kids and families, that they're not going to hurt someone. Because I'm not saying they're bad people. They're just not mentally maybe there. And we just have to remove them and help them, if that makes sense. On to the next topic, healthcare. Healthcare, it's free, but failing. Here are some facts. ER wait times. 29% of Canadians wait 4 hours or more. I can vouch that I've been there sometimes 10 to 12 hours. For many are facing about 8 to 12 hours of wait. Specialized care in BC, the average wait time for a specialist is about 29.5 weeks, so over half a year to see a specialist. And so while it's technically free, for many Canadians, healthcare feels out of reach.
And this is one of those topic where it's not a down point. And all of these points we're talking about is not a down thing about Canada. It's just to point out that like things are happening and most people tend to not want to talk about it. We still love Canada. It's a beautiful country. Think about it. But the fact is this, we are paying for it.
Yeah.
Our taxes to whatever percentage goes to healthcare.
Can you talk about the percentage stuff? We're paying a certain amount of tax plus 13%.
I mean, just say you're making what? Individual, you're making 100,000 a year and it is not a business, right? You're paying what, 30-something% to tax and plus another 13% provincial tax in Ontario on everything else that you buy. And so half of your paycheck, more than half is gone. Having said that, we can see that some tax money is going to, but a lot of time is not really improving our country.
Yeah, let's just picture this. If you didn't have to pay 30% of your tax, and obviously taxes are good because it will go towards things that you need in the country. But let's just say if we only had to pay 5-10%. The other 20% that you save out of that 100 Okay, how much is that?
Oh,
You're the math
let's
guy.
say you say, and you keep 20% of that, $20,000.
So you $20,000 in your pocket. Use that $20,000 when you need to go or invest it, and no, but then you need a portion to have emergencies when you go
you don't
see.
need
But
emergency.
for people that are not so sick, it makes sense that we only see the doctors once or twice a year. Let's just say 5 to 10 times. And you pay a certain amount, like 100, 200, I don't know, 500. That doesn't add up to 20,000. So I'm just saying, if you do your math, it makes sense that you pay out of pocket, or even insurance. I think it's more affordable.
At the end of the day, it's probably better we keep our tax invested and pay for medical care.
Yes.
Because obviously Vietnam is very affordable medical care. We paid a few times going to the ER or even the doctor, getting blood tests, consultation, x-ray, ultrasounds, all those things combined, we paid less than 100 Canadian. And it was done within an hour.
So there was one time, like with our little one, the youngest, when I got there, it was like 6 and we got out at 7:10.
And this is, we're paying foreign price.
And that was how much? Was it 2 mil?
Yeah, something like that.
So that was 2 million dong, which is 110 Canadian. We got in and out within an hour. She got her x-ray, blood, consultation, and prescription.
So things move at light speed over here. I'm just saying, just for a blood test in Canada, you still got to book an appointment.
You see the
Doctor.
They
So
write
that takes time. It probably be like half an hour to an hour, depending on how busy your family doctor is. Now you got to take that to where you get your blood test, and then you spend another, what,
Hour or
15, 30 minutes to get your blood test, and then your results don't come in for a few days.
a week or two sometimes.
So I'm just saying, I'd prefer, if something was happening to me, if I had something that really needed a doctor or an ER, I don't want to, or a specialist, I don't want to be waiting 6 months to see one, you know?
If I was really worried, I'm willing to pay money.
Yeah,
And I
you're
don't,
definitely paying for that.
but I don't know if there's a system in Canada that there is. There might be.
Private
There,
care.
there is.
So then why are we paying for taxes for free medical care? We still have to pay for private care.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So then why don't we just make it paid?
Yeah.
Don't take our taxes.
Oh
you know
yeah.
what I
So
mean?
not everything is free. Most of the things are free, but
Medicine's still not free.
most medicine's not free. My dad, he had a heart challenge and he still has to go pay for that. Even he's lived there his whole life and thought he's gonna get free health care because
Paying
that's what they
taxes, yeah.
said. He has a heart issue and he actually has to go to a specialist. They're making you pay for consultation and for the appointment.
And what about your mom's diabetes?
My mom has diabetes and she has to pay $500 a month sometimes for medication. So I'm just saying it's not free. It's just certain services are free, but the specialists and like specialty things that you have to do, you still have to pay for.
Yeah.
So what are we really paying for the consultations and stuff? I'd rather pay for the consultation and they do the free for the prescription drugs and all that. Like, I don't know.
It's just one of those debate topic, right?
Yeah.
Is it good? Is it bad? We don't know. But so far, it's just one of those things. Do we have enough money going into hospitals and all these healthcare that we're going to get our help when we need it? But yeah.
And I want to add on to, even if you want to go see your doctor, it takes them a week or two to see you now, family doctor. Like my mom and dad, whenever they want to see a doctor, they're like, oh, call to book an appointment. And then when they call and book an appointment, they don't usually can see you right away. They would say a week. Minimum week, and then in the max, it could be up to 2 weeks, 2 or 3 weeks.
Yeah.
I've seen that with my own parents. And even when my parents want to see someone within a day, doctor would tell them to go to ER, which takes about 5 to 10 hours in our town to get to see a doctor because it's not an emergency. Or you can go to one of those private walk-in clinics, which the doctors do not actually recommend you to do that, because if you do that, apparently they have to pay out of their own pocket to that private clinic that they went to, which my parents are stuck. They're like, okay, do I go to the ER to wait for 5 hours, or do I go to the walk-in clinic that at least it's just an hour wait? Kind of corrupted that way that like you have no choice to either one or the other, or the doctor's gonna get mad at you and not want to take you in anymore. I already told my parents once, if you go to that walk-in clinic, we're gonna take you out of our system and you're not gonna be able to come to us anymore. So I don't know, I think that's just mind-blowing.
These are life experiences, right? And they're real. And that's like one of those things where we're glad that we'll step away from that for a little bit and just being able to see all of that from the outside.
Yeah.
And that kind of lead us to the next topic, which is
So the de-crisis and safe supply program. I'm not gonna say the exact word because I don't know if we're allowed to say this.
we're not gonna give any stats here, okay?
Okay, over 44,000 Canadians have died from that D overdose since 2016. And the other one that they have talked about that's a huge challenge in Canada starts with an A. I'm not gonna say that word. Play a big role in that.
Yeah, like one of the things that I think leading us to leaving Canada, and it's not even in the topic we're talking about, but it's because of the amount of use. Our kids are gonna grow up knowing that they can get access to all these. So
Okay, so in response, the government and the health system has rolled out a safer supply program prescribing regulated pharmaceutical grade Ds
so overall,
to reduce the overdose.
being a wealthy country, why don't we just take all this away and have no use, making it illegal across the board? I don't want to wake up and knowing that my kids at 15 or 20 are going to be using hard
Or they have access to it.
or have access to
And
it.
that are like legal.
Shouldn't we ban that completely? Which parents really is comfortable with their kids using hard?
Obviously, they're not.
Why can't we vote
No.
the crap out of our country?
So why would parents want them to use that? Why is it so easily for as parents, would we like to know that there's easy access to legal
Yes.
like that at the pharmacy? Because a kid can easily just get someone that's, like I said, that is
18 or over.
18 over, or even someone that is even outdoors doing it, and they're going to give money for them to go get it, and they go get it and they
Yeah.
don't know better. But anyway, saying that, I've seen things online that there are kids in schools getting access to it and giving it and selling it in schools now because how easy access it is. So was that a good program or not?
Yes or no, I don't know. But this is the thing, because our laws are that it's not obviously disciplinary enough that people don't care that they're selling it. If you come to Vietnam and you're selling it, it's instant jail time, and sometimes you're gonna get it, right? If you make the law harsh enough, 90+% or even higher will most likely not touch it. And I think that should be something that is more stern than making it so easy for kids or other people to have access to these things. As a country, I think that's something that it's just an opinion, but I have a family, we have our kids, and I just want to know that my kid's gonna grow up not so likely to be doing it.
So when we talked about this with other parents, even here, like other expats, they talk about how it's everywhere, this issue, and it's just how you're going to raise your kids and all. However, I guess we're talking specifically about this program that if we agree with it or not, we really don't agree with it just because I don't feel like we should be promoting it, that it is okay. And I don't want my kids to have access to it because they say like it's legal at a pharmacy. This is something was a big thing that I didn't realize that was happening, and that was just recent. Not recently, I guess it's not recent, but it's recent years that when this rolled out, and I was just mind blown that they rolled this out for others, and now there's a big crisis in the other side of Canada, like in Vancouver and all that. I guess that's just one that we do not agree with. Anything else?
No, I guess our last topic is basically mental health.
And I feel like this is another topic that is around the world too still. It's not just Canada. However, we just have to mention it because that's some of the points, because it adds up. So mental health, like when you compound housing, hunger, healthcare, delays, and like
Pretty much
addictions and emotionally, yeah, I guess right now people are burnt out.
we are, anyways.
Yeah, we are. And I see that with my family and friends that people are just surviving.
Yeah, and I don't
And-
think that's the way to live. Just knowing that there's a whole different life out there, we just kind of decide to step away and take a look at it for ourselves. And that's one of those things where, you know, if you have an opportunity and you want to step out to see a different life outside of Canada, you should, right? Is it better or worse? I don't know. It just depends on you, right? Canada is obviously not the worst countries. There's just a lot of things are getting more difficult as time goes by. And back in the day when we went to Canada, we were sold the dream.
The American dream.
The Canadian dream. Government's gonna take care of you when you get old. But even in today, if I have to wait another 30 something or 40 years for me to get to retirement, and then so I've worked all that time and
Go through what my dad's going through.
the government's definitely not gonna CPP is not gonna be able to give you as much money as what inflation has done. I don't know what that dream is anymore for Canadians, but I don't see that happening for our kids. And
So saying that a lot of younger generations right now, many are saying that they can't see a future in their own homeland right now. And I think that's why there's a trend. I don't know if it's a trend, but yeah, there's a trend that you see a lot of Canadians, Americans leaving the West to travel, to live abroad. And I feel like everyone's trying to find a home base somewhere now. Like, it's either you're going to live abroad forever or you're living abroad because you want to find a place that you can call home. And I think that's where we are right now. Like, where we stand is that the reason why we living abroad is so we can find a home that we can call home, somewhere that it's not, obviously no country is perfect, but a home that we can say it's decent enough that we are able to raise our kids and be happy. And we don't mind to have multiple homes, meaning live in Vietnam for a little bit and then live somewhere else for a little bit. And yes, and I guess a lot of families like us are starting to ask, if Canada doesn't give us hope, what are the other options? And I think that's why I started this YouTube, our journey. What are the other options of living a different type of life? Thinking differently, homeschooling. I know we are doing a lot of the opposite of what people think is normal. And I think it's okay. I feel like that's normal to be different.
With all these topics, it kind of lead us to, and we have discussed this back then, this kind of lead us to some of our decisions that we made in the last few years, just to try to live abroad so that we can have more time with our kids and then to find a decent life. And we don't know what the future is going to hold. We don't know where we're going. We don't know if we're going to come back to Canada or not, because we still love Canada. And we just hope that one day it's going to be able to turn that wheel back and make Canada great again.
Is there going to be a Canadian dream again? My dad was sold on the Canadian dream, and I see him like paying for it right now. And I guess we just don't want to go through the same things. And also with our kids, like, we want to give them a better chance of...
We just want them to see a different life everywhere else.
So I think from everything that we talked about, now that we landed in Da Nang and living here, it has taken out all those challenges that we had in Canada, like the cost of living, the safety of it. I just feel like we're less stressed and that we could breathe a little bit more and not...
enjoying time with our kids.
Yeah, we wanted to figure out what is the most important things in life right now. And most important thing to us is our kids and raising them so they can be strong-minded kids to become adults and successful. And yes, if you're asking the same hard questions as we did, no, you're not alone. Thousands of families are quietly doing the math and exploring alternatives. If you want real stories and practical tips, sign up to my notes where I share behind the scenes on money moves, mindset shifts, and building life more intentionally. We just started a community called Life Unlocked where you get access to the private WhatsApp and also some information and courses. You can start there if you're looking for alternative ways of leaving Canada or finding other ways to living a more happier life. So that's a wrap for our discussion. I really appreciate you all for joining us and supporting our channel. Please subscribe so others like yourself will find this video and can follow our journey and we can help each other figure out life together. If this resonated with you, go check out our channel. We have more playlists about living abroad and raising your kids. We'll talk to you guys soon. See you in the next video. Let's grow, glow, and flourish together. Testing 1, 2, 3.
Testing 1, 2, 3 nè.